Fearless Disease.
Trump doubling down on his affordability push as his top officials urge him to remain focused on bringing high prices lower for the average American, reportedly showing him polls and social media posts in closed-door meetings. The Wall Street Journal is reporting that the White House aides, quote, are reorienting some of Trump's public events to focus on costs. They're planning economy-focused speeches across the country in early 2026 and making plans to shift to domestic matters after the president spent some of his first 10 months in office on foreign policy, ending wars. Republicans fear big losses in the midterms next year if perception of the economy does not improve, writes the Journal. The president will travel to Pennsylvania tomorrow to begin a tour of his affordability agenda and talk with Americans about his day one priority of ending Joe Biden's inflation crisis. I spoke with
Makes a lot of sense. You know how we start, Fearless Disease fans. Today we expose the truth they hate to hear. Right now, if you are ready, President Trump is making some power moves. He understands that this first year wasn't a success, 100% a success, but he focused a lot on foreign things. Even though it helped us here on American soil. I mean, he signed a lot of peace treaties. He did a lot with the tariffs. So now he's going back to the number one reason. I think the reason why he won was to create a initiative for Americans to live more, comfortably and make it more affordable here. He's going on a prep rally. I think he's going to keep on talking about it. But let's see what they have to say first.
Spoke with Pennsylvania Senator Dave McCormick about it yesterday and how Democrats have been marketing the issue of affordability. Watch. The Democrats have been able to grab around this issue of affordability, this new buzzword going into the midterm elections, and act as if it's their issue and not the Republicans' issue. They're better marketers, obviously.
Well, listen, we inherited a train wreck from the policies of the Biden administration. It's going to take some time to unwind those. But make no mistake, by any metric, the economy has gotten better for working families over the last 12 months. And it's also true we have a lot more work to do. And I think the president feels that. He's willing to shake things up, whether it's negotiating these deals with pharmaceutical companies or really going at some of the true costs of inflation. And we need to deal with that to help the working families of Pennsylvania that put him and me into office.
Well, we know what's driving the campaign season once we get into 26, Liz Peek. Your reaction?
Yeah, I think this is an appropriate move and pivot on the part of President Trump. I actually am very sympathetic that he's a little blindsided by the fact that prices did go up over 20% while Joe Biden was in office. And we didn't hear this big uproar about affordability then. So I think for President Trump, it's kind of like, well, wait a minute. Inflation's down to 2.5%, 3%. It's not 9%, which it climbed to under Biden. And by the way, our programs are all meant to bring prices down. What do Democrats bring? High taxes, stiff regulations, all kinds of measures, including green energy measures that raise the cost of living. And so to President Trump, I think it's a given that the Republican agenda, his agenda, will in fact bring prices down over time. But you know what? The voters are negative on that right now. He has to address it, and I'm glad that he's going to make this change.
Yeah,
makes a lot of sense. Exactly. Since Trump has been in office, is everything as bad as what he's doing? As she said so, nicely. Since Trump has been in office for less than a year, well, coming up on a year, inflation is up 2.5%. But they didn't say anything about when Biden was in office for majority of his term, and it was up 9%. But nobody said anything when he was in office. They said things were going on. We're going to fix it. A few things going on, but we're going to get the inflation down. But as you see, it's been lower since Trump has been there. And there's still an outrage. Said it's still inflation. It's still inflation. But it's just, the Trump disease kind of feel like just because he's there, just because he's making power moves and he has a little bravado about him, there's a problem with the way he's doing inflation.
Yeah, it's a big move to actually focus just on this, Cheryl, but that's what we're expecting early 26.
Yeah, and it's a messaging issue, and that is what economist Steve Moore, a frequent guest of your program, Maria, has said, that it's a messaging change that needs to happen, hence that Wall Street Journal report saying that these advisors are going to the president. Here's how you message this. You talk about the fact that you are now looking at beef prices and adjusting some of the tariffs that affect, in particular, coffee. Perfect example. Trump RX, you spoke with the senator about that. Prescription prices, especially for chronic diseases like diabetes, that has been addressed already from the Oval. We've seen that by executive order. Even just on Friday, another executive order, the Food Supply Chain Security Task Force. The president created that. Let's look at the competitive or anti-competitive behaviors happening within the food industry. Fuel economy standards, that was just last week. There's plenty of there to go out and stump for. I do agree with Liz. It is a concern for Republicans. They're voicing that concerns ahead of the midterms. But again, it's about messaging. It's not about the facts. It's about how this is getting sold or not sold to the American public. And the president's going to start that in Pennsylvania.
Very important to take on healthcare the way that the president has by this most favored nation status, as well as the Trump RX website. He has been able to negotiate with these pharmaceutical CEOs to bring prices way down. That's something to talk about.
So you hear that? We have a lot to love about what Trump is doing right now, but it will never be shown out, especially in
joining us live now, House
Financial
Services Committee member
or anything like that, because they don't want to show what's going on, especially here in 2025. Now going to 2026, I see him pushing for at least 5 months just on affordability and how America's economy is doing well now, how the inflation is still a little up, but it's lower than when the Democratic Party was in, which was Joe Biden term. So you have to look at the positives, but sometimes the other side will not see the positives because of the hatred that they have for Trump. It is what it is. Smash that like, tap the next video. It's going to be up on the screen. Subscribe, hit that bell. CashApp is always in the description. FearlessDisease. And, if you support the movement. See you on the next one. Stay rich and stay fearless.